All right, welcome back to the Dad Bod Fantasy Pod. This is Cody. I've got Rob and Brian with me tonight. How are we doing, fellas?
Doing
What's going
all
on,
right,
Cody?
not too bad.
How we doing
Good.
on this fine Memorial Day?
Yeah, gorgeous day. Can't complain. Did you guys do anything good this weekend?
Well, Cody, I'm glad you asked, because today on this fine Memorial Day, I really took advantage of the day, and I went with the wife. We went to look at a couple different refrigerators, So I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna pop my screen
Exciting
on real
stuff.
quick so I can show you guys the type of just mechanical hardware we're talking here. All right, so here's our first option. We've
Here we
got
go.
the LG 29.5 smart French door, 4-door, built-in, blah blah blah. It looks pretty cool.
Rob, can you
Fantastic.
imagine being rich?
A full fridge, baby.
Oh yeah,
Who doesn't love a full fridge?
$3,500. And I'm not gonna lie, we actually we tossed this one out after I read some of the reviews that basically said it'll break within a year and it doesn't cool very well. So sorry,
Sounds about
LG.
right.
Don't think
Can
you're
I-
really the one.
Can I add
Yeah,
one thing, Brian?
Go ahead, Cody. What do you got?
My wife brought up to me just recently that she wishes she had that middle drawer. She thinks that's the game changer.
Yeah, this middle drawer, I believe it's the one. Lauren also wants this really bad. It's the converter.
Yeah.
So it goes from, you can make it either a fridge or a freezer. Lauren was
Oh, wow.
all about it. That's the whole reason she wanted it.
Game
So
changer.
then-
You're right, Cody.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. We looked at the neighbor, which was this one. And the cool thing about this one is you see all those little honeycombs in the back? Those are all LEDs. So it's
Yeah, those
really
are lights.
bright.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are. So you open it and it's BA. And I think this might also be the one that makes it makes like whiskey ice. So they're those balls that you just like drop in.
Yeah. Yep.
And then the one I really fell in love with was this baby.
Got a video?
There's a video. Yeah. Oh man.
The wood finishes, huh?
Not bad.
Keeps things very moist.
Why don't more fridges? Why don't more refrigerators do wood finishes?
I feel good mold
Like it looks
up.
nice.
Yeah,
Wood
it does.
finishes.
It's a
Maybe,
good
but
look.
they said it's mold and stain
look.
resistant.
Good look.
I'm kind of in love with it. It's $4,500. So
Ooh.
I mean,
Yeah.
probably not going to happen.
Go with the honeycomb.
But it is what it is.
Yeah, the honeycomb feels
I
pretty
think that's
right.
the one.
Go with the honeycomb.
That's the one we're leaning towards.
Yeah. So Brian is in the
All right.
process of
So-
building a house right now, so that's what's got him appliance shopping galore. It's full dad bod mode right now for Brian.
That's right.
Building the house,
Hyped
moving
up
the
about
fam in.
fridges.
He'll be shopping lawnmowers here soon.
Oh, it's the best.
Hey, I still have my 15-year-old Honda. That thing has treated me
Yeah.
real well.
She won't die, right?
I replaced the blades on it. It's got the it pulls itself ahead, which is great. I've never had that before.
Like the self-propel, you kind of
my mom-
squeeze it and it carries itself.
Yeah. That's
Uh-huh.
I couldn't think of what it was called. Yeah, that's great. I need some new wheels though, but the wheels are crazy expensive. They're like $40 a piece,
Like per wheel?
like per
How
wheel.
much was the mower?
So I inherited this one from
Okay.
someone, but I think they're like $1,500.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes
That's a
more
good.
sense.
Okay,
I thought it was
got a
like
good one.
Yeah.
I thought it was like a $300 mower, and the wheels were $160.
No, this thing
What?
this thing's legit.
Good stuff.
This thing is destroying the earth with how much smoke it shoots out
Yeah.
of it.
Rob, do you enjoy the weather this weekend?
Yeah, man. Nothing bad. A lot of dad bod activities. Got a golf
Same here.
round in. A little golf outing.
Cornhole.
Cornhole, grilled, hit the bags, little cornhole action.
bags.
Can't have any better of a weekend, honestly.
Yeah.
Played by the pool, mowed my grass, watered my plants. I mean, this is dad bod for a reason.
Yeah.
We've got a nice
Yeah,
comment
so
here. A good fridge
for
is the
anyone
key
that
to
doesn't
maintaining
know, we are in Ohio, and so when it comes to being May, it's sort of hit or miss with the weather. A lot of our
Oh
weather's
yeah.
pretty decent in May, but today was almost 90. We don't get many of those in May in Ohio.
we
Never.
we've got a follow up message. Sorry to.
That's actually fair. That's really fair.
It's fair.
Very good. So somebody commented, for anybody not on the live stream, somebody commented that we're worried about $40 wheels when we're shopping for $4,000 fridges. It doesn't make much sense.
I
So
love it.
I know, and we're talking about fridges that are all made by crap manufacturers, and they're all going to break within 5 years. And then my lawnmower that's been pushing strong for 20, and
and
I
you're
won't
not
do
willing to
the
invest.
minimum to maintain it.
Right, right.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So, we're going to do something a little different today in the fact that we're going to hit something, a topic related to Dynasty, and that we're going to look at sell high candidates in Dynasty format, people we'd be looking to move on from, this offseason or even the season if someone gets off to a fast start. And then we'll switch gears over to a little bit of redraft talk. And we're going to do a little defend your rank where we kind of grill each other on someone that we think the other person has ranked out of left field, just they're way high, way low, whatever it might be, and see if they can defend their stance on it. So, going to get a little dynasty action, a little redraft, and make it a nice bundle there. You guys feeling ready?
Let's do it, Cody.
Cool. Rob, why don't you give me your sell high candidates?
All right. Do you want to get into the news first? And then we can get into sell high.
Yeah, probably a great idea. Why don't you give us a little news, Rob?
The main thing that we kind of saw throughout the weekend, Cap worked out with the Raiders. I don't really think it has any implication for fantasy purposes. It's kind of a nice little side note. It's cool to see him getting a look. Hopefully it gets picked up. We'll see how that goes. McNichols to the Falcons. Brian, what do you think about that? You think that's anything worth noting, or it's just kind of another depth piece?
Worth noting. Yeah, I think it's more of a depth piece more than anything else because, they have Cordarrelle there, but he is getting kind of old, and he really only has one season that he's done it. It's not a bad pickup for him. I still think the Falcons are a bottom 3 team this year. I don't have much faith in them, and so I don't really see McNichols as anything worth grabbing.
Yeah, they got that rookie there too, Algira from BYU.
Yeah.
I'm high on him. I think he's going to get a lot of the work. So we'll see. We'll see how that plays out, but I'm not really worried too much about that for the backfield over there. And then Njoku signed that monster contract with the Browns. 4 years, $56 million, 30 or some guaranteed. So he's the clear-cut number 1 tight end for the next 4 years with Deshaun Watson. Redraft purposes, it means absolutely nothing for your fantasy outlook for the season. But Dynasty, for me, it has a little implication. Cody, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's definitely a telling story long term, especially like you said in Dynasty. Obviously, they're showing a commitment to this guy. As a Browns fan, so this one's a little near and dear for us. I think the money's pretty heavy. He's a top 5 paid tight end now, and I just don't think the production's been there. Maybe it's to come. The offense is going through a lot of changes with new quarterback and those things. So maybe I'll get surprised. As a Browns fan, I dislike the deal. But it's nothing but a good thing from a fantasy perspective. Clearly the team is dedicated to using it.
I think the more telling thing is just that, Austin Hooper's not back. They're giving this money to Njoku. And, it's kind of seemed like, correct me if I'm wrong, but it kind of seemed like Harrison Bryant kind of dropped off the face of the earth last year.
He had a nice rookie year.
Like 2 years ago, we were really hyped for him 2 years ago, and then last year he was not.
I think he was hurt, if I'm not mistaken. I think he was battling.
I think for a bit he was
some nagging injuries. I don't know what their infatuation with Hooper was last year. He was probably the worst player on the field, just falling all over the place. But I'm excited for Njoku. It's a crazy deal. One thing that I can say, what I've noticed, Barry loves to get ahead of the market. It seems. Pulling that Amari Cooper trade. Now it looks like it's a steal. Denzel Ward looks like a steal. Myles Garrett looks like a steal. It just seems like he likes to get out ahead. So we'll see 2 years down the road with the tight end market. He might be, the 10th highest paid. So we'll see. It just makes me comfortable if I have him on my dynasty team. he's tied to Deshaun Watson for the next 4 years, no matter what. He's got premier quarterback play, and that's just comfortable knowing in the back of your head.
Yep.
Do you think that if I draft him and I let him know I drafted him,
Yeah.
that he might buy me a fridge?
I mean, he's got the money for it now.
He does
You
have the
hope
money
so.
for it now.
Say you want honeycombs or bust.
Honeycombs or
He
bust?
does have the money.
All right, Cody,
I
let's
like
get
it.
in these sell highs, buddy.
Cool. Why don't you give me your QB sell high?
Yeah. My
And
QB
real
sell
quick,
high.
Rob, I'm sorry. We're going to do
Go
these positionally. So we'll have quarterback, back, and wide receiver for each of us.
For sure.
Go ahead.
So my sell high for the QB position is your boy Brian Tua Tagovailoa, however you say that.
Terrible.
Just for me, I've spent a lot of time this offseason watching him, just tape wise, just trying to see what they're gonna do since they got Tyreek. I've dug into the PFF numbers. He finished bottom 5 in big time throws, average depth of target, and average, like all the average long distance throws, all his numericals were bottom 5 in the league. I understand Tyreek's going to help that out, but for me, it just seems like he can't throw that deep ball, and that's why you bring Tyreek Hill in. If anything, now I'm kind of wondering my Tyreek rankings if I'm too high on him, just because of the numbers that his statistics are showing. I know he hasn't had too many weapons, but it's not like he hasn't had anybody. And then he had the 8th most turnover-worthy plays in only 13 games last season. That's insane.
All right, so first, there's way too small of a sample size, I think. Like you said,
Sure.
13 games. And secondly, if you look at Tyreek's stats, he really didn't do all his work on deep balls. He did it on short little slants that he just ended up taking to the house. And I mean, if there's one play Tua loves, it's the short slants. I just don't think it's really, I don't know. I would never sell Tua right now, because I just think with Waddle and Tyreek, it's like you could be Mitch Trubisky. You're still going to be able to produce. And so, I mean, this is a make or break year for Tua. Like, is he going to be the franchise player, or is he going to be out of the league and in a backup? And
that's where I'm at, 100%. For me, it makes me not nervous, but there's a lot of available quarterbacks, especially that are going to be on, like Jimmy Garoppolo, Baker Mayfield. They're going to be on their teams that are trying to sell them into the season. That if Tua gets off to a really slow start, doesn't look like he has it, it could be they might yank the plug.
They might. I don't think they do it this year, though.
I don't know. We'll see. I'm curious to watch how it goes.
Yeah, I guess, I know Brian's kind of Brian's sort of the obviously you're a sell candidate on. I look at Tua, I feel like he does have a glorious opportunity. He's in a position that not many young quarterbacks ever get to be in the fact that he's no weapons. He's kind of being given the reins, all those things. And so it's make or break, but he has a really, really good opportunity ahead of him, as good as a young QB could ask for.
Yeah, just me personally, I think if he gets off to a real slow start, it's scary for me with a dynasty position that you can miss your window to sell him for. This is the time where people are going to want him because they got Tyreek, because they got McDaniels. So if he comes out slow, you lose all that value. That's where I'm at. And I just don't think his play is warranted. For me, from watching him, I don't think he's good. So
you'd rather have Jordan Love.
Not sitting on the pine. Yeah. I'm excited. One day. But Brian, where are you at? What's your quarterback sell high?
All right. So I started off talking about Trey Lance just because I think he is being way overhyped. He hasn't shown us anything yet. He couldn't beat out Jimmy G. Jimmy G is still there. He's currently ranked as quarterback number 10 in Fantasy Pros rankings for Dynasty, that is, which I think is crazy high, especially for a guy who basically has started a handful of games. Like I said, Jimmy is still around. So that's what I started with, but then I pivoted. to actually Kyler Murray, because Kyler's still unsigned. He's unhappy with the team. The Cardinals are not happy with him. You don't really know how much ground has been made, and we never will until something happens. He's kind of a pouty little baby. And so then I pulled some stats because I know DeAndre Hopkins isn't going to be here for, 8 games, right?
Yes, 8.
Okay.
It's 6
So-
or 8.
I think it's 8.
I have it on my.
Is it 8? Okay. You're probably right.
Carry on, I'll look it up.
So his stats without DeAndre Hopkins, and this might be more beneficial for people in redraft leagues, but I think it's worth noting either way. Kyler Murray, when DeAndre Hopkins isn't playing, his passing TDs go from 5.9% per play to 2.4%, so you're basically cutting that in half. His completion percentage goes down from 72% to 63%. His red zone target rates are cut in half from 65% to 35%. Not necessarily half, but so he's really not that elite quarterback you're looking for. So, and when we say sell high, I mean you're selling Kyler Murray high. Obviously, he's a young quarterback. There's just a lot of unknown with him. I mean, anybody would be crazy to sell him for anything like cheap or just try and ship him off. But this is a sell high, and anytime you have young quarterbacks in fantasy, you're going to be a little bit hesitant.
Yeah, and that is 6 games. So
Okay.
it's only 6, but
Okay.
it's still very significant, especially for fantasy purposes. I mean, he's missing almost half the season. So,
Yeah.
Brian, I'm going to
I
push my
don't
luck
hate
on
that.
this here. I'm going to push my luck on this. Do you happen to know what the sample size was on those games without DeAndre?
I want to say it was 13 games.
Okay, so it's enough that it's not like
Yeah.
there was 3 games.
Shows you.
And yeah. Yep.
Yeah. His QB rating also dropped to like around 85 when he was out. I don't know who takes QB rating into really account. I think those stats are better.
Yeah.
But
No, I agree. And he's a small-sized quarterback that takes punishment, that has been hurt. He's prone to getting hurt, and he fought. I don't know what it is. Every season he starts off like a firecracker, and then he just drops off a cliff right at the end of the season.
I mean, have we seen like, because Russian quarterbacks, they're not necessarily new, but have we seen the longevity of Russian quarterbacks versus your traditional guys? Like, do they last as long? Like, you're not going to see Kyler Murray playing until he's 44.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, most people.
We don't know yet, but I agree. All of these guys, I think mid-30, early to mid-30s, that 33, 34, I'm going to be curious to see what happens
I agree.
with all these guys.
This is a new thing in the NFL, and the only Kyler of all of them might be able to make it work just because he is an amazing throw. He's a great thrower of the ball. Like, it's not like he runs and throws. He throws and runs. So that's one thing that I'll say about Kyler, where I think once he loses the legs, he can pivot to being a pocket quarterback. I'm not too worried about that. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens mobile quarterbacks moving forward, because this is new. This is a new era in the NFL, but they keep coming through. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun to watch it. Cody.
I'm going to let me real quick take a small step back on the Trey Lance, Brian. What I'm curious of there is, do you think that his value is that high? Because it might just be our group, but I feel a ton of hate for Trey Lance in our group. Do you think his actual value out there is high?
I think in Dynasty, his value is crazy high. Let me actually look that up real quick.
I don't know
while
what
I
you
do
could get
that,
for
I
him.
also think
Honestly,
It's a good question.
I had another QB ranked, but Mario told me I should just get rid of it. But that QB is just Marcus Mariota, because I feel like if you can get a 3rd round pick for it, you should do it.
I own him. I tried.
I don't think he's
got.
Let's see. Trey Lance is currently QB 10. I think I already
Yeah, you
talked
said
about
QB
that.
10, which is,
I did.
for me, it's crazy. It's an unproven commodity.
Like Jalen Hurts
In Dynasty,
is 11,
I don't think
and
it's
I'd rather have
crazy.
Jalen Hurts. I think it is. I'd rather have Jalen Hurts all day.
That's tough, man. That's tough.
Jalen Hurts has done it for 2-3 years.
But there's so much
now.
talk of him getting benched. There's
I know,
a lot of
true.
talks about that.
Fair point.
That if
And
Trey
you
comes
know-
in and lights it up.
And you guys know,
Your
I
boy
guess
Derek Carr is 17.
Brian, I mean, I have zero belief in Jalen Hurts' arm talent, so I'm in the camp of he's just not going to get it done. He's going to get it done with his legs, But I think we're going to learn he just doesn't have it to be an NFL quarterback. I mean, I personally would take Trey Lance over Jalen in a dynasty, I think. And there's a ton of uncertainty. I'm not saying Trey Lance is a sure thing, but I feel like I've seen enough Jalen Hurts to know what we're getting for me personally. It's a guy that can't throw.
Fair enough.
All right, I'm gonna jump in with mine now. So I'm gonna sell Aaron Rodgers.
I felt like yours was too easy, Cody.
It is,
yours was too easy.
It's easy in one way, and in another way, I thought it almost wasn't even eligible because I don't know what you can get for Aaron Rodgers in Dynasty for sure. So obviously we're focused on Dynasty here. You know, he's gonna turn 39 this year. He's still being, for the most part, drafted as a top 10 quarterback at least. The weapons are just terrible now without Devontae. And so, you know, I think a lot of people are kind of writing this narrative of, hey, someone's going to step up, whether it be, you know, Watson or one of the existing guys or whoever it is, someone's going to step up. And I think there's a more than 50% chance that Aaron Rodgers is still a really good quarterback, but the numbers just aren't as gaudy. You know, they've got such a good running game between Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. And Aaron Rodgers is still going to be great. But Aaron Rodgers can be great by throwing 32 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. That's a great season. And that's also a terrible fantasy season. That's not going to get it done from a guy who doesn't run it all. Even if he leads the league in passer rating. If he doesn't throw for 36, 38, 40 touchdowns, he's not going to be there at the end of the year when it comes to fantasy points. And so
Sorry to interrupt you. But if you are trading him, obviously you're looking to somebody that is contending, that is looking for that little push, or maybe if you're in a super flex, they don't have a second quarterback. Because Aaron Rodgers is a guy that is going to win you some weeks by himself, most likely.
Yeah, he is. If Devontae was still there, I'd honestly feel otherwise, because I think he can still be a top 5, 6, 7 fantasy QB. I think he's still going to be absolutely great. He might even contend for MVP, but I can't really see a big fantasy season out of him. I think it'll be highly efficient, but it's not there.
Yeah, I spoke on this with Mario last Wednesday because I'm very high on Derek Carr because of Devontae. And the reason I think it was 19, Devontae Adams went down with a turf toe after game 4, missed 4 weeks, and just never came back to his normal self. You could see he was hurting. You could see he didn't have the burst. He didn't have the jumping ability that he normally has, that he goes up, gets the ball in the red zone over defenders. And I think A-Rod was like, he had 4,000 yards and maybe 25 touchdowns, something like that. So not that that's, again, it's not a terrible season.
He only threw 4 interceptions. It was a great season.
So that's, how he is, that he's a great quarterback. But without that super, that crazy wide receiver that can extend. I was telling Mario, I think the top 3, 4 receivers in the league gets that quarterback an extra 8 to 10 touchdowns. I think that's where this league is right now. And I mean, what would Matt Stafford have done last year without Cooper Kupp in that historic season? It's all about not all about your weapons, but it's a huge piece of the puzzle.
For sure. I mean, who was he throwing to in Detroit once Calvin Johnson left?
Yep.
I honestly can't even really name it.
Marvin Jones. Yep. I mean, that's the stuff
who had yeah.
All right, Rob, throw us a running back you're selling in Dynasty.
Yeah, sorry, my dogs are freaking out. We got fireworks over here for Memorial Day, so it's always a solid time in the household with 2 dogs. So my sell high right now is Alvin Kamara. He's 27. Mario did an awesome article. If you guys have not checked it out, please do. It's on our Twitter. Is it on the Median yet, Cody?
I just put my couple of articles. I'm not sure if Mario put his up or not.
We're going to pump out these articles, and he did an awesome one on running back touches, rushes, and targets in a career, and when the wheels start falling off for that running back. And he came to the conclusion that right around 1,200 is where everyone starts dipping. For the most part, I think it's about 2 running backs per season finish top 12 with over 12,000. So the numbers aren't there for those running backs.
To add on to that, Rob, I think so I see you have his age listed here that he's 27. I'm pretty sure There's only been one running back in the last like 10 years to finish in the top 5, and it was LaShawn
Yep.
McCoy.
He did it twice, I think.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
JD was different.
so he's also, he's just getting up there.
Yeah, so he's up there in age. He's got the touches, and all last year he went. I think his yards per carry were 3.7, which is by far the lowest of his career. He had the most rushing attempts on his body, so I didn't like to see that. And then he had 65 targets, which was the lowest of his career, and all his breakaway numbers, according to PFF, were pretty much cut in half. He had a 14.2 breakaway percentage, which was the lowest. Just for a figure, 2020 was 32.4. Almost cut in half in a year on his breakaway percentage. That's not great for a running back that is known for, once a game he busts a 50-yarder. Once twice. That's how because he rushes the ball 13, 14 times. He doesn't have the 35 touches. He does it with the big plays, and all those numbers are drastically down.
Let me back you up a little bit more. So now you're the Saints. You have no Sean Payton. You have Jameis Winston's looking to start the whole year. Jameis Winston, who would rather chuck it 50 yards down the field than to check down to his running backs. So I think I don't think it's a fluke that his targets were the lowest of his career. I think they're going to go even lower this next year. Plus, they have Michael Thomas back, maybe. Yeah. Chris Olave is coming. There's other people to throw the ball to. This offense might be all right. But I'm not a big Jameis believer, especially when it comes to checking down to running backs, because he never did it in Tampa Bay. I don't really think he's going to do it that much here. And if Sean Payton's gone, he's not really going to be running up any plays for, like Kamara out of the backfield outside of screens. Maybe they will.
I agree. And this season he might have a okay year, top 15, top 12. I'm not saying for this year, but for Dynasty, I also think like you said, there's a new system being put in place. There's no running backs behind them. They could just fall in love with handing the ball off to Kamara this season, which if he gets another 250, 300 touches on the body, man, those wheels are really going to fall off next season. So this might be the year to unload him, get what you can, and then next season, man, he might be a top 30 back.
Is their backup Tony Jones there still? Tony Jones Jr.?
I'm actually not even sure.
I'm not sure. I know they got
Tony Jones Jr. was a rookie last year, and he had a lot of hype, but then he got hurt in his first game.
Did Mark Ingram go back?
Mark Ingram.
He did.
Yeah, no, Mark
But
Ingram,
I'm not sure if he's still there.
He is.
Okay.
While you guys are looking up the depth chart, I want to throw just one thing out. And this isn't to say you guys are wrong in any way, because I don't totally disagree with what you're saying. You guys are the low guys out of our group on Kamara this year. Rob got him at 11, Mario at 15. All but one other person has him in the top 10. As high as 6, a couple guys at 8, one at 7. And so, I think we have some people in the group that still have some Kamara love, so hopefully in some ranking shows we can kind of hear the other side of it. But I think you guys tell a compelling story with that. I really do.
Hey, he won me this right here. I love Kamara. I just
I think it's over.
All the signs are there.
I have to. Everything that Brian said was exactly what I was thinking. The whole Jameis coming in, no more Drew Brees, who loves to check it down. If there's no open receiver, he knows it and he doesn't care. He'll take the 5 yards to Kamara all day. So, like you said, 65 targets. That's the lowest of his career. That's not terrible for any running back by any means. But normally he gets 90s, not close to 100.
I think he's had
season.
Over 100. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, that's the scary thing, Rob, because he's a guy. Obviously, he's never been the high rushing guy, and so we have relied on his receiving. So if it's not going to be elite, then it gets scary quick. It does.
Exactly.
All right, Brian, what do you got for us?
All right, so I originally wrote up a whole thing about Aaron Jones, but I liked Aaron Jones too much.
It's crazy.
He's only one of the most efficient backs in NFL history, but whatever.
I know, and I think they're gonna. Well, if we're talking Dynasty, it wouldn't be a crazy write-up because Aaron Rodgers is gone in 3 years. You assume
at most, honestly.
AJ Dillon's take it. AJ Dillon had 50% of the touches last year, and AJ Dillon is not a slouch. So He's still a stud. Aaron Jones is still a stud. I think he just turned 27 as
Stop
well.
this smear campaign right now and
It's not a smear campaign.
get
He's
to your
only at
player.
800 touches. He's fine. But anyway, I picked James Conner.
Yeah.
I think James Conner is a great sell high after his last year because I don't think it's repeatable. Just turned 27. We just talked about that. Only averaged 3.7 yards per carry, which wasn't very good. He had 15 touchdowns, which is kind of nuts for James Conner. But basically what they would do, it seemed like every other play or every other drive, they were getting down at the 1 yard line, and then James Conner would just come in and fall forward and get a touchdown. The Cardinals also just signed Darrell Williams, which I actually think is going to eat into James Conner's value quite a bit. Because, I mean, Darrell Williams was never really a slouch in Kansas City. He was pretty decent while he was there. Benjamin obviously wasn't very good because they're bringing in Darrell Williams to take over that backup role for them. You guys agree? You disagree? I feel like I got two agrees here.
Well,
go ahead,
Rob. Okay, all right, I'll jump in. So here's what I'll say. I agree with everything you're saying in the fact of I don't think James Conner's that good. I don't think he's that efficient. I also think that, you're right, there's some interesting backups maybe. The fact that Chase Edmonds is going is only a positive, though. And I think...
they also drafted, is it Keontae Ingram? Yeah. They drafted him in like the...
6th. It wasn't late.
Is it the 6th?
I thought it was late, but I
think it was. I think it was.
Here's the only question with James Conner. I don't think anybody thinks James Conner's all that good. I think everyone's mostly shocked that the Cardinals are committing to him because he just hasn't produced effectively in a long time. The question is he going to fall backwards into the end zone 15 times again this year? And if he is, he's going to be a great fantasy buy. And this is Dynasty, so that makes it, I'm probably getting a little too redrafty here for this season. Yeah. But that's the question. Is he just having nose for is he one of those red zone backs? And is that going to be, his namesake for the next couple of years? And if so, he's still going to be fantasy relevant.
So he's 27 this season.
Low work.
Yeah. Low work.
He does have low work. He finished as RB5 last year, though.
I owned him.
If you're selling him at that valuation,
see, that's the question.
Like,
you're not, though.
You should be trying to...
That's the question.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing, is that his value, I feel like people don't value... Like, people value him kind of like where we're saying he should be valued. But if you're going off of last year, you should be able to get more. I did try and buy him in one league, but I think I only offered, like...
I'll tell you this.
A second round pick or something.
If you have a team in your league that is possibly one running back away, they got a solid RB1, but they have an RB2 that, let's go down the list here.
Don't name any of my running backs. Cordarrelle Patterson.
Yeah, Cordarrelle Patterson, Antonio Gibson.
Let's say they got Cam Akers and there's a ton of question marks and they want a little bit of...
So a couple question marks, maybe one, Cam Akers. That's a great one. Cam Akers, right? Who knows? Coming off the Achilles, we really don't. He came back, but you don't know what's going to happen with that. That's a situation where, I'm 100% with you on that. Try to sell him to a team like that. You might be able to squeeze some very good value for him because I agree. I can't see 15 touchdowns. Who does that?
Here's where I think people...
Derrick Henry?
Yeah. Here's where I think people are going to struggle, and this is only coming from a guy who owned James Conner last year. I couldn't trade him for a bag of peanuts. And that sounds dramatic, but I couldn't. Nobody wanted him. Even though he was RB during the season. Yeah, this is probably, weeks 8 through 10, let's call it, somewhere in there. He was a top 10 RB at that time, tons of touchdowns. I could not sell him for anything.
I think there's just a stink on him, man.
There is. That's where I was going with this.
There is. It's from that year in Pittsburgh, man.
He wasn't bad in Pittsburgh too, which is crazy. The crazy part is
he was always pretty decent.
He had the 1 year where he's a stud in Pittsburgh, and then the second year he fell off, and I think he got injured. And just wasn't a great year.
He was always solid. But
that's where I'm going with this, though. I think you're going to struggle to get much for him, and so it's going to be a hard. I mean, if you find somebody that wants to bite, I'm on board.
So
it's a tough sell, though.
Let me give you two names here while I'm looking at it. Two guys that finished top 10. So the first one, who I feel like is really in the same boat as James Conner, is RB8 from last year, and that's Damian Harris. So that's another guy that I think
Younger, though.
is, he had a really good year. He's on the Patriots though. They pretty much cycle running backs every 3 years.
true.
Ramondre Stevenson's there. They have like 4 other guys.
He's
That's
in a
another guy that I
contract
think
year,
you're
so
not
this
really.
is probably it.
Yeah,
Yep.
I
This could be
agree.
good.
So that might be somebody also that you can trade to a team that just needs like another guy.
See, I'm 100%. I'm buying Dame Harris.
In
I'm
redraft or
buying
dynasty?
Both.
Okay, because I would buy him in redraft this year, and the reason is Bill Belichick's going to run him into the ground. I think he's a great pick in redraft
Damn,
this year.
he's-
Dynasty, I don't
he's-
feel the same.
He's got some time though. He's what, 24?
25 maybe.
20.
He
Yeah.
was a
think
first rounder,
25.
so he's a fifth year. I think it's his fifth year.
Yeah, but when did he start getting touches? You want to talk about? I mean,
Like last
that's what I'm
year,
saying.
pretty
He's
much.
got
I think-
nowhere
yeah.
on the thread. And no,
Yeah, I'm not worried about
nowhere
the
on the
wear.
tires.
I'm not worried about
That's the
wear.
thing. I think he's a good back. I just think the Patriots.
It's so hard to know the Patriots
It's
running
weird.
back because I feel like they're productive
true.
for the Pats, and it's so hard to know. It's
That's
so
true.
hard to know.
So there's one other guy here that I feel blasphemous speaking his name as a Sal High, but he meets a lot of the criteria that we've been discussing. Injured a lot, just drafted a young running back, just turned 27. You guys got any guesses? Finished RB2 last year.
RB2
Oh,
last year.
Lenny? Not Lenny.
Nope. Eckler.
Oh, yeah.
The coach has already said that he doesn't want to give him nearly as many touches this year as
That's
he did
not his
last
value
year.
though.
What do you mean that's not
It's the
his value?
receiving work. I mean, it depends what you're calling touches.
Oh,
It's,
true.
That's not
Them
his-
drafting
his
running
value's not
back
rushing.
doesn't scare me a bit.
But that's the thing with Dynasty is you got to think about the future. And if you can get like, I don't know, 2 first-round picks for Eckler or something, and maybe you're in a rebuild, I don't know. It might not be a.
I'm keeping Eckler.
I'm just saying you could probably get a king's ransom for him.
Let me hit
And
let
it
me
wouldn't-
hit
I don't
mine
think
because
it would be the worst
you're
move.
playing in the same area as I
Yeah,
am.
sorry.
No, you're good. Let me hit because it's the same kind of idea. And I want to put a caveat on this. The player I'm going to say that you should be trading in Dynasty is most likely going to have a massive season. And so it's going to feel like you lost this trade for this entire year in all likelihood, in my opinion. And it's Derrick Henry. And like, it's going to hurt for a while, but he's 28 years old. He's never caught over 20 passes. His career high is 206 yards receiving. He has nothing in the receiving game. He is a ground and pound, and he's a huge back. He's held up fairly well. There was some injuries last year. But at 28 years old and the workload he has on that body, the day's coming. I don't think it's this year, but the day's coming. And right now, Brian said a king's ransom for Eckler. Whatever it is, you can get more for Derrick Henry right now. Whatever that king's ransom is,
I think
you can
that's
get
funny.
more.
I think it's funny you say he's peak value, considering he's coming off of an ACL tear where
Look where he's
he
being drafted.
missed. I know.
The value's not getting
It's
higher
just
than
funny
here.
that
Well, peak.
No.
his peak value should have been last year though. After that,
when I say
insane
peak, I mean
season.
it's only down from here. That's probably a better way to say it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
probably true. And he did have something stupid like 580 yards through like
a couple games.
3-4 games
I don't even
or
think it was that
something.
many.
Yeah, he was on pace for an insane year, which I don't disagree. I do think he's still going to be
Yep.
studly this year.
I'm calling one more good year, and you're going to have to sit and watch it on the sideline. But when you've got 3 first-round rookies on your team 2 years from now, you're going to be glad you did it.
Yeah.
I like that. I'm a huge. Honestly, man, I could see it this season where the wheels fall off. He's coming off that injury, 28. This is where they start piling up.
A.J. Brown's gone.
They're gonna try to give him the ball 400 times again. It's dicey.
Yep. Rob, you have him at
Who,
7. I have him at 4. Brian has him at 2. So there's a pretty significant difference in our rankings for redraft.
Yeah. I can't see him holding up the whole season. It seems just how many times in the way he runs. It's just every year's 350
Yeah.
touches and he is just bulldozing his way to 1,500 yards. It's insane. It's gonna catch up. When? Who knows? But it's tough.
Rob, throw me your receiver you're selling.
This is gonna sound crazy.
No, this one made me mad because I wanted this
Oh,
one,
okay.
and you took it from me before I got it.
Good. I'm glad that. myself or wide receivers, Debo. He's and this is all predicated on him being with the Niners moving forward. That's just where I'm at right now. If he stays in San Fran, for me, I'm selling him after that crazy season. He's still young. He's an amazing talent. It's just the way the offense runs. Since Shanahan took over, right? I think it was 2017. There's only been one receiver with over 100 targets, and that was Debo last season.
How many did he have? Was it just over?
It was like 120. It was 120.
Okay, actually, it was like okay, yep.
It was there. That's where you want to be for a top 12 receivers, like 120 up. I did a write up on that, which I'll be dropping soon. The stats are crazy where the top 5 backs are always right around 140 targets. It's 140, and then when you get to the top 12, it's 130 and more. It's pretty wild to see it. So if you're not getting that work, you're not getting the targets, it's tough to repeat what he did last season. And I don't see it just from what we've seen through this offense. I think he'll regress to more around the 105 target range. And then he already said he doesn't want to run the ball anymore. The contract dispute, the quarterback question marks. It's for me, it's piling up. The only way I like it is if he is out of there. So if he signs a contract with the Niners, I'm selling it all day. I'm selling him all day.
See, that's funny. I'm the complete opposite. I think he only has value if he goes back to the Niners. And I have him ranked 21. This is why I wanted to steal him as.
Whoa, 21.
What has he done? What has he done before this year?
Okay, what has like 5 other people up there done? I mean, this is like that's a narrative on like half the players in the top 12.
His rookie was.
I don't care. I don't think when he finishes as a wide receiver 2 next year, I'm just going to point back to this and I'm going to say I told you so, because if you take away his rushing, which is what he did in San Fran, I mean, plus if you're bringing in Trey Lance instead of Jimmy G, which we still don't know if that's happening, that's going to change up some things. You assume Trey Lance is going to run a bit more, not throw it as much, and like we said, I just don't think he repeats or gets even close to that. I'm also a big Ayuk believer, and he started off the year real slow and in the doghouse and everything. And I think he is, at least I think they drafted Ayuk to kind of do the same things Debo does. Like, I think it was like 2 years ago when Debo went down, they pretty much just moved Ayuk into his role and just had him do all the same things that Debo did.
He had a good year.
And so I really, I think it's a good sell high. I would definitely be selling him high if I could.
Let me add one counterpoint. So, and I'm kind of probably a middle grounder on Debo. I've got him 7 this year, which sounds high compared to Brian's, of course. But I think 7's probably going to end up being probably a smidge low compared to the rest of the industry. I would guess he's a borderline top 5 for a lot of the industry. Here's what I like, and this actually came from Mario. He sent out a video earlier today. It was an almost 20-minute video of Debo's receptions from last year, and I was surprised.
I didn't watch it.
I hadn't spent much time watching Debo, and it surprised me.
No,
I expected deep balls galore. I mean, he's a burner, and I knew he had 18 yards per reception. Not the case at all.
No, he's a stud.
It is sit down. He finds an open space and he sits in it, and it's after the catch. And I personally like those scenarios better than the contested catch deep ball receivers. The reason being, those deep touchdowns that are contested are so hard to repeat. A guy can go from 6 in a season to 2 in a season real quick. Whereas if a guy can find open area in the field and then can work after the catch, I prefer those receivers. And so it gave me a little more love for Debo, actually.
So look, I know we're not supposed to include like injuries into our ranking, but I definitely included injury into my ranking because Debo is just a man that is like, he's kind of made of glass. Like the year before he started 7 games. The year before that, he started 11 games. This year he had 15.
It's a real concern.
I'm a huge believer in the talent. I think Debo is a stud, especially watching him last year. It was great to watch because it's like you see all that previously unrealized potential just taking over, and he had 121 targets last year, Cody.
Okay.
Yeah, but he was a stud. I mean, he had 4 total touchdowns before last year.
Yeah.
That's a lie. He had 7,
No,
but he had
he's a beast.
double that.
There's no question about it. It's just, for me, why I'm selling is just the situation with Shanahan. Shanahan's an amazing coach, one of the best in the league, especially offensive mind wise. He is maybe the best. But the way he gets people open, the way he gimmicks plays, and the way he orchestrates that offense, it isn't user friendly to a wide receiver one. They're not going to get the 140 targets like a Devontae Adams, Justin Jefferson. The volume's just not going to be there, and you can get that. For me, I still think he's going to be great moving forward, no matter what. He's going to be a top 12 receiver, but I think you can get like top 3 return right now for him. That's why
Let me ask you.
Yeah, I think so too. He had 60 or 59 rushes last
Well,
year.
that's
a lot.
I was just going to bring that up. I know he doesn't want to rush anymore. I think he still ends up rushing. I mean, it's such a strong part of his game. So when you include those rush attempts, we're talking about 170 combined targets and rush attempts. That changes the narrative a lot.
But previously,
Yeah.
Cody, previously in 2020, he had 8 rush attempts in 7 games. Year before that, he only had 14 in 15 games. He had 14 rush attempts in 15 games. So, I mean, I can solve something.
He averaged 6.2 yards per carry and had 8 touchdowns last season. They're going to do it again. I don't care what he did before. It was way too dang good.
That was great.
They're going to do it again.
That was great.
No question.
We all know that. I agree with you, but NFL defenses take the offseason and they scheme this stuff. I mean, look what the Wildcat did year one. And those plays like that, when the NFL offense evolves to something new, the defense has a year. They need that year to catch up, and then
do you think we're there though? I mean, do you think this has been such a craze that it's solved? Because I don't think it's
for
solved
the Niners. For the Niners, I think
could be for the Niners.
Every team that's playing the Niners next season, they are looking at that. They're going to figure it out. They're going to figure a way to limit that rush from Debo, and maybe
he's their best.
Don't plan on it
especially if Trey Lance is their quarterback. Because I really don't think anybody's going to respect his arm.
But I think if Trey is the quarterback, I think that hurts Debo maybe even more because he'll be taking some rushes away. I think he'll take, maybe Debo ran at 60. Maybe Debo gets 30 next year. Trey Lance takes the extra 30. And they're doing, those gimmicky plays out of that, and they're opening it up for Trey Lance, or they're opening it up for Ayuk, or they're opening it up for
Here's all I would say to that, because that's possible. What I would say is this. If he was any semblance of as efficient as he was last year, there's no way that Trey Lance's carries are coming from Debo's bundle. No chance. You're not taking him from the guy that had 8 touchdowns on 60 carries.
They would have to.
No,
I think
they take
where
it from
else
running
would
backs.
they be taken from?
Taken from running backs.
There's 2 big.
The running backs were just as
close.
As great.
8 touchdowns on 60 carries, Brian. Not even close.
Elijah Mitchell was a stud last year.
Okay, yeah. Tell me if he got a touchdown on every 8 carries.
He had over 220.
Yeah, but that's the thing about running our receiver rushes is that they're gimmicky, and so you have a higher chance of success on those.
Yeah, so they're going to do them again.
Ones. But if people, except if people are expecting them like every other play,
there's 2.
Like that's the better argument. I'm okay with the argument you just made, B. My whole point was I don't think Trey Lance hurts him in that way. There's no way those Trey Lance carries come out of Debo's bundle, to me.
I agree.
Except when plays.
I agree. My whole thing also with this whole situation that's going on there. He's not stupid. Okay? He knows what's going on in the NFL right now.
Yep.
He's either going to get a massive contract before the season starts, or you can guarantee he will not run the ball one time because he's not going to get hurt.
You're right.
And if he's
100%.
a receiver, he's going at 80% until he gets paid.
I think that's why running backs so often get moved or have contract issues or hold out is because they know what it is and they want that
guaranteed money.
That one paycheck they can get. Yeah, exactly.
Money.
Before they fade off into.
All right, B. Throw us your cell receiver.
All right. Robbie's going to like this one. My cell receiver is Amon-Ra St. Brown, the sun god.
That's my boy.
Praise the sun. So here's my reasoning. He was a 4th-round pick. He only really turned up in the later half of the season because both TJ Hawkinson and DeAndre Swift were hurt. So that left it more on his shoulders. Also, the Lions were a very bad team, if you don't remember, so they had to throw the ball a lot. The biggest reason is that they just drafted Jamison Williams, a first-round pick, not a fourth-round pick. And Jared Goff is still the quarterback. And this is a news flash from a previous episode. Jared Goff is average at best. I don't think he is going to, come out and light the world on fire. We'll get into more about the Lions later on and Robbie's love for them.
Yeah.
But that is my sell high right now. I'm not saying he's a bad player or anything. I just think he's going to settle into a wide receiver 2 role with the Lions. And, that might return you wide receiver 3 value, maybe.
Even a high-end wide receiver
36.
3, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. Robbie has him at like 15.
Yeah.
No, I have him higher.
Robbie, I'll let you go here in just a second.
13.
I think
I'll bite my tongue on this topic because we're going to get into it a little later on. But
okay.
That's
save it. We'll save it.
Take the floor, Cody. Take the floor.
Right. My sell is AJ Brown, and I don't know where you two stand, but I know a lot of people in the group are going to disagree with me. I know Mario's one of them. He's excited for I shouldn't say he's excited necessarily for AJ Brown, but he's excited for Jalen Hurts this year, which makes me think there has to be a little excitement for AJ Brown. Here's my issue. I don't know that AJ Brown has been the player that for some reason everyone believes he is.
Dude, I agree 100% with that statement. He is so hyped.
He is.
So hyped. Like he's Julio Jones.
I know.
And he's not Julio Jones. At least not yet.
I thought he had a season, even if it's just one season, where he had 1,300 yards and 11 touchdowns. I would have thought that at least there was a season like that for him to be hyped the way he is. But no, his career high is 1,075 yards. His career high in receptions is 70 catches. He's coming off his worst year. He has long-term knee questions. He had both of them cleaned up, and this has been an ongoing conversation for a long time. And I already mentioned what I think of Jalen Hurts' arm. I think it's a ticking time bomb. Now, when I say
can't forget about Devontae Smith and Goddard over there as well.
And when I say ticking time bomb, I'm not saying the guy is going to disappear this year. What I'm saying is people love A.J. Brown, and you should dump him while it's hot, in my opinion.
I think Cody, why people love him so much is that he so greatly surpasses the eye test when you watch him play.
Yeah.
It's just that I think injuries are a very real issue with him. I think he might have a little bit of issues with some dropsies. But yeah, I agree with what you're saying because the hype has always been greater than what you're getting in return for him.
It's never really happened.
Yeah.
What do you think,
That's
Rob?
a good way to put it. No, that's a good way to put it. The eye test outweighs the
production
numbers. When you're for fantasy purposes with what's going on with them. Because I'll tell you what, I mean, I was huge on him last season, going in before last season. I thought he was going to explode, be a top 5 receiver. Just watching him play, man, he's got that Debo ability, like you were talking about earlier. He'll find that 5-yard cushion where there's, no one around him for 5 yards, sit down, take the ball, and boom, he's to the house. But I agree. I mean, the injuries, they just keep piling up on the guy, and he just can't seem to stay healthy. And I don't think it's as good of a situation as it was in Tennessee. So I agree. I mean, yeah, man, if you can sell and see,
I think you can.
From everything that I've seen on our Twitter page, and we're going hard at that on at DadBotFS. So please follow us.
Shameless plug.
But that's right, baby. We're on there. We're watching stuff, and everything that I've seen with AJ is the community seems to be very split. You're either AJ's going to be a top 10, top 5 receiver, or AJ is going to bottom out. So it's going to be a fun year to watch him, but I think this is your last chance. If you're going to sell him, this is before the season starts. This is peak value for sure.
Yeah. Yep. I agree with that. All right. Let's make a little switch here, guys. So we're going to switch over to a redraft topic where this is the part that could get a little heated, especially with Brian and Rob there and the Lions offense. But we're going to call each other out on one of our rankings where we think one of us is just missing the boat terribly. And so, Rob, why don't you start us off like you have been all night?
Yeah. So I got you, Cody.
Brian, why don't you start us off? I'm
No.
just kidding. I'm joking.
He's
He's calling me out.
Confused the hell out of me to this. All right. So you have one of my favorite receivers coming in this season, Cortland Sutton at 28. It's his 5th year, still super young, new offensive coach, first time in his entire career that a legitimate quarterback's on. He's had Drew Lock and Teddy Bridgewater throwing him the ball. He fought some injuries earlier on. 2 seasons ago, he had a pretty serious injury. Missed most of the season.
Missed basically the whole year, I think.
Most.
ACL?
I think he missed. I think it was an ACL. He missed.
Yeah.
I think he only played 1 or 2 games.
I agree. Yep.
But Russ loves his large, big-bodied receivers that can get downfield, get past that secondary, and he just chucks that. You know how good Russ is in the deep ball, and you know how good Cortland is with the deep ball.
Yeah.
What are you doing to me? Come on.
Okay. Yeah. So here's what I'll give you. I'm gonna miss somewhere on the Broncos offense this year. I think
everybody is.
And you could very well be right that Cortland Sutton is where I miss, because I agree Russ is a stud, and I think Javonte's a stud, and Melvin Gordon's back, and Jerry Jeudy, and Cortland Sutton, and all of these names, and a tight end that we're not even going to talk about that Mario loves, who's a nobody.
No.
I don't think we could pronounce his name if we tried.
Right.
No.
There is a miraculous amount of unknown. New tight end, Cortland and Jerry both, healthy and there, which hasn't happened very much, assuming Jeudy doesn't have he's had the legal stuff going on, but assuming that's all in the clear. You haven't seen Russ in this offense. I'm going to miss on it somewhere. It could be Cortland. Here's why I'm betting against Cortland. I think I've seen enough to say I don't think he's that guy.
Interesting.
He has one good season under his belt. And when I say good season, it was 1,100 yards and 6 TDs. Like, it was probably, I don't even know what he was. He was probably wide receiver. What is that? 12 to 18, somewhere in that
Something
range,
like that,
I would guess. Yeah. And so if you want to say, hey, I think he repeats that kind of season, I think he could be wide receiver 18. Okay. I mean, I think that's probably possible. I would say my response would be, yeah, it was Drew Lock and Teddy Bridgewater, etc. But why did he have 700 yards in 17 games last year? And he's gonna, and as young as you talk about him being, he's gonna be 27 this year.
Because of Drew Lock.
The physical prime's here, like
Teddy B.
because of Drew Lock, and I don't love
Teddy
Drew
B.
Lock, so I mean,
So
Teddy
should
B
we be
was
fading DK?
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, well, they're giving Geno Smith is winning that role right now. That's where we're at.
Win it. I've been in that camp.
I think he's going to win it also.
Geno is going to be the starter over Drew
Yep.
Lock. Teddy Bridgewater was the starter over Drew Lock. And Teddy Bridgewater throws the ball 5 yards. That's why he had 700 yards.
Okay.
That's
I like
my
that
personal
argument because
opinion.
he's been because that's a good argument because he's been a big play guy. I think that year that he had the big season, he was like, if I remember right, he was 16 or 18 a reception. It was a big number.
I want to say his average reception is like in the 13 or 14s.
At
yardage.
least,
Yeah.
probably. And last year it was quite a bit lower. I mean, he didn't have it.
Yeah.
So, how high do you have Cortland, Rob? Sell me on where you got him, because I could be swayed a little here. I have some Jerry Jeudy love, and that's part of the struggle here.
I got Cortland
but
at
there's
13.
Gonna be, wow, you're not selling me
13.
on that.
Mario's 11. Mario's 10.
What?
Mario's 10. I'm 13. I just think, looking
I
at
thought you were
the,
gonna
it's
sell
not.
me on like 18.
No. I told you he's one of my favorite receivers. I'm gonna own a lot of Cortland.
I'm glad you guys didn't call me out on this because I actually missed ranking him.
Yes,
I saw
He just
it.
has his stats.
I figured.
He has his stats from last year.
And what
let
did
me-
it land
let me
him,
say
Ryan?
that, too, by
What
the
did
way.
his stats from last year land him? Tell me.
No.
It lands him at
65.
wide receiver 64.
Oh, 64. Ouch.
Yeah, whatever.
700 yards and 2 touchdowns. It's not very
But
good.
It's not good.
What
I
I'll
agree.
say with your ranking, just like you were what 26.
That sounds right. 26. Or
So you were
28.
26. Our consensus was 24, and that was with Brian at 65.
I'm low. You're right.
Okay.
You're right.
So that's.
Let me see what stat
I think
line
the
have it down for.
median's probably around 16 to 17. And if I'm guessing, just in our our rankings.
Yeah. I'm with you.
But
I've got him for 1,016 yards and 7
So
TDs.
if
I
you
can
want,
see where I'm
if
low
you
there.
want
my thing is
if you want my,
go ahead, bro.
sorry, I was just gonna say if you want my actual like where I'm gonna slot him at, it's probably right around 27, 28.
Okay. Well, I think you're crazy.
That's still going to take, honestly, even if he goes that high, though, Rob, what you're saying is right, because it'll take the average to even say it's 20, 20, whatever.
20, 19, wherever that.
I'm also
falls.
just assuming that Judy's going to be the guy.
It doesn't matter.
I really like.
It doesn't matter.
You think it can be both?
You think both of them are going to?
Everything,
it
all
could
the
be.
numbers that I've looked at, I went back to Russ for the past like 5 years. He can consistently get 2 receivers in the top 24.
He has done that.
Top 12. He had 2 receivers in the top
100%.
12. He had Lockett and DK 2 seasons ago. I think they were 8 and 12.
The thing for me is
why not
Tim Patrick and KJ Hamler. That's the thing with
you think they're going to be a suck in that offense, and because those guys, you're not saying they're going to be fantasy relevant. You're saying they might get.
I just don't think they're going away.
That's fair, but for me, all the highlight reels and all the numbers that you see that Russ puts up, what is he doing? He's throwing a 50-yard bomb to Lockett or DK. He's not a deep ball receiver.
I know, I'm just joking.
But who's the deep ball receiver there? It's Cortland.
It is Cortland based on his past performance.
He's tossing Jerry Jeudy his keys 50 yards down the field so he can lock his girls.
Just for me personally, I'm loving me some Cortland. I think he is. I think of the two, Cortland and Jeudy, I'm higher on Cortland all day. Just how Russ plays the game.
I could be 4 to 10 spots low on him. So, I mean, it's something I can take a look at because I think you've got a better argument than I do, honestly, Rob. I like the case you made. All right. Brian.
Yep.
And I will admit I have a bit of a love affair for this player. So
I've already heard this all over Reddit.
CeeDee Lamb at 11.
And to be fair, I'm probably about 2 spots low on him.
You say about 6 spots low?
No, I say about 2 spots low. Yeah, I have him at 11. I could put him up in the
what
9,
don't you
10.
give me? Just give me what don't you like? What's the main point?
I love CeeDee Lamb. I think he's a great player. I don't know. I don't like Dak that much, I suppose. Tony Pollard's coming on. He's going to get more work. Dalton Schultz came on last year. I think Michael Gallup is just going to fill in for Amari Cooper. I've been a huge Michael Gallup fan since he's come into the league because I think Michael Gallup is a guy that just, again, passes the eye test, but he has been injured so constantly. So I think my CeeDee Lamb ranking was actually less of a knock on CeeDee Lamb and more of a praise for Michael Gallup. Because I have Gallup as getting just over 1,000 yards this year. I think it can happen. I think he can come in and just take enough work away from CeeDee Lamb.
How many games do you think he plays?
CD or Gallup? Hopefully 17.
I don't see it.
I don't think he will either because he's been hurt a lot.
Yeah, but he's coming off. When did he tear his ACL?
It was kind of late.
I would say
he might be back.
Week 11.
He might be back.
He might be back in time. Yeah.
Okay.
Probably will be. We're talking a November injury. He probably will be.
Who they got that?
Like I said, I'm just hoping Gallup gets his shot. I hope he doesn't get hurt this year. And if that's the case, I think CeeDee Lamb falls right around 10.
10.
So I can get with a little bit of the Gallup love as far as being a 1,000-yard receiver, but I don't think Gallup being a 1,000-yard receiver keeps CeeDee Lamb from being a borderline top 5 receiver. And the reason I say it is because even if a guy's 1,000 yards and let's say it's 6 TDs, let's just throw that out there. What is that? When we talked about it, that's probably that.
That's basically what I have. That's what I have as stats for.
And what is he? Probably wide receiver 30, wide receiver 26,
1,200 yards and 5 touchdowns, and he's. Oh, yeah, well, okay, I'm a little bit here. Let me see who.
Is this Gallup for 1,200? You're saying?
No, that's CeeDee.
Oh, I'm saying Gallup having 1,006.
It's like 20.
Doesn't keep CeeDee from being. Doesn't keep CeeDee from being borderline top 5 to me. Here's what I like about CeeDee. obviously Amari Cooper's gone. That's the big piece to me that is the tipping point. Um, he had 111 targets as a rookie. He had 120 last year. And so the guy's been hyper productive and really, really good for fantasy without actually getting
He's
the
a
targets.
stud.
He hasn't had the targets.
120
and
is
all
a
of a
lot.
sudden, I think not
120
really.
is a lot of targets.
Not really.
I
What
get
I'm
it.
talking about,
I get what
I
you're
think
saying.
he's
I
going top
understand
five.
what you're
I
saying.
think he's going to top five. A top
Okay.
five guy gets 140 plus targets.
What
Generally.
did he finish? What did he finish last season?
I don't know offhand.
20.
I want to say he was like
20-ish.
no, way higher, way higher. CD?
I'll get it. Yeah,
No, yeah, definitely way higher.
He was
Ryan, pull
number.
that up.
Loading. He was number 14.
14.
14 and Amari Cooper's gone. I
Okay.
just think.
Okay,
So here's-
but, like, you're just saying. So that's the whole crazy thing about rankings is that literally nobody knows what's going to happen. So, like, even though I have Cortland Sutton, unranked, I didn't rank him. He's at 64. It's totally possible he finishes at 64. It doesn't mean I know anything. And so I think he has a similar year to last year.
Okay.
I think CD's a stud. I think he makes Dak look better than Dak is.
So I have
Here's the other
him.
part that let me throw one thing, Rob, and then here's the other part that gets me a little bit is I think he's a legitimate stud. And I know you're saying you think he's a stud, but the guy was drafted in the middle of the first round. Like he was an elite prospect, and now he's going to an offense that's thrown for a lot of yards. There's not a ton of competition for targets, depending what you think of Gallup. I mean, it is almost just perfect to me. Super talented.
So don't you think he's going to get what comes along with that, which is double
Double coverage.
teams,
Yep.
Where
more
I'm at.
coverage,
I think
game
he
plans
did
against
last
him?
year.
Well, I just feel like anytime
I don't think Amari was
people
number one
hype
last year.
somebody up, I feel like anytime people hype people up for those reasons that you just listed, you can always list counterpoints, and you never know what's going to happen until the year starts
true.
to get along.
That's true.
So, I mean, we'll just have to see on
I
that.
got him at 6.
So
I got him
you're
at
high,
6.
Rob. You're right
Yeah.
there with me.
I like everything. I think he's going to be around 140 targets. That's where I'm projecting him. I like him. I'm with Brian on the one point where I really am interested to see the first game where he's going to get doubled. He's going to have the number one cornerback every play.
Mhm.
They're going to shade a safety over the top. They're going to chip him with linebackers. He's going to be in the slot a lot. He's going to get beat up a lot. Can he do it? I think he can. I really do. He's an awesome player. He's a very fun player to watch.
Kind of reminds me of Antonio Brown.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
a fun
actually same here.
player to watch.
Yeah.
He's the talent's undeniable. It's just
The
can
other
he
good
do
thing
it
he has going for him
with that number
is
one.
that he gets to play.
My bad.
Sorry,
My
Rob.
bad.
No, I just thought
You were-
you kept ending
I
your
thought you were
sentence
too.
and then you kept adding. The one thing he has going for him, he gets the Redskins twice. He gets the Eagles twice. He gets the Giants twice.
Yep.
I mean, that could be 1,000 yards in those 6
It
games.
will be 1,000 yards.
And he plays in a dome.
Yeah.
Yep.
Underrated.
I think stuff lines up here to where not only do I have him ranked where I think he's an extremely safe player, and that's probably where you guys might not agree, especially not Brian. I think he's extremely
No, I agree
safe.
with that 100%. I think he's incredibly safe.
Let me ask you this. Do you think he has the potential to be that top 3 with Justin Jefferson, Cooper Kupp, Devontae Adams? Can he mix in there? Can he get 160 targets this season and
Do I
turn that
think
into
it's-
12 touchdowns?
Do I think it's likely? No. Do I think he is one of 10 players that I would say there's a chance of that? I would say yes, if that makes any sense.
I agree.
I don't
That's
think
my
that, and I
only-
wouldn't even say 10. I would say there's probably
Not even
6 to
10.
8 players I think
Yeah.
that.
That's my
and I think he's
my only thing with him is I can see a very real possibility where he gets 130 targets and he just can't figure out how to beat that double team in that number one corner. And I can also see he gets 170 targets and he's the number one receiver in the league. So
I've got it for about 140, but I agree with you that there's
I
some
just think it's
ceiling above
possible
there.
because they're going to throw the ball. I mean, on average,
Agreed.
Dallas throws the ball around like I want to say 650 times. I mean,
They fling it.
they're top 5 every single season with pass attempts, and that is only going to translate to points for your boy. So
Yeah.
I don't hate it, man. That's a great call.
Okay. All right, Brian, what do you got for us?
What do I got?
Let's go, big boy.
I'm just hold up. Let me
do
take a
I
second.
have
Hold
for you?
up. Don't start yet. I'm just gonna sit this one out. Just
Rob here.
Yeah. Talk to me, Goose.
He has 2, not 1, 2 Detroit Lion receivers ranked in the top 15. He has Amon Ra at 13, Jamison Williams
I got him at 12.
15, I believe.
hold up.
He also
You have
has
Jamison Williams at 15.
Yeah. I might be a little high.
You're calling out the wrong player, Brian. What in the world?
Yeah.
Dude, that's
He's
well, that was my
double-tagging
sell
me
high
here.
before. Was Amon Ra was my sell high.
Oh.
This is I just have all his Lions players. He has
You
DeAndre
can't say
Swift at
Swift's
RB
not
number
a top
5.
5.
Dude, I feel
He's
like
not a
DeAndre
top
Swift
5.
is how I feel he
Wow.
is how Cody described AJ Brown, all the hype and hasn't actually done it. He's flashed for like 6 games at a time. I want to see him put a
Nope.
full season together.
Nope.
Rob, what do you have Swift at? I'm looking here.
He has him at 5.
Wow.
Yeah. And I'm not alone. You act like I'm crazy.
So
Yeah,
here's
like
my
I'm
You
other
got
great.
Mario
stats.
with you. I mean, it's
Jared
those are
Goff
the-
last year. Jared Goff last year only had 19 touchdowns the entire year. 17
Yeah.
games, 19 touchdowns.
Uh-huh.
And yet you have DeAndre Swift getting 3 and both the receivers getting 18. Amon Ra only had 5 last year. I just don't think there's any chance this happens.
Okay. That's fair. I
They
understand
were
where
like,
you're coming.
They were bottom 3 in the league last year, probably, right? 3 games, I think they
Yeah.
won.
No, there's no question that I'm
Rob,
for
you're not
sure-
even high on Jared Goff.
I was telling Brian earlier that I'm gonna. So there's 2 players here that I have to revisit. I have to revisit Goff. I think I'm gonna tick him up a little bit. Nothing crazy, and I think I'm a tad high on Jameson. Amon Ra is my. I think he's my breakout candidate. I think he has sincerely. I think he's got the potential to be a top 10, top 8 receiver. If everything
Wow.
plays right. If everything plays right, I think he's got the potential to be that legitimate number 1. Like everyone's calling for Michael Pittman, right? Everyone's calling.
Just me.
No,
Just
there's
me.
a lot of people. I'm
I
seeing
feel
that
Pittman
around.
too.
Yeah, I think that's my Michael Pittman is Amon Ra. He was hyper productive in those 6 games that you were saying no TJ Hawkinson. Okay, who cares? What has TJ Hawkinson ever done? You've been calling out Baby Hawk since the first podcast I was on.
Since the fantasy bye
Since
week,
19.
days, man.
I'm gonna sell him out a little, Rob. He tried to trade me for Baby Hawk not but a month ago.
Here we go.
So he's still in.
I
He's still in.
tried to trade him a lot for him. I'm still
The
all
only
in.
reason
I'm still all
Baby
in.
Hawk hasn't done anything in the NFL.
No, he hasn't.
So
That's because
wipe
look
him
at his
out the window.
quarterback.
Wipe him out the window.
Look at his quarterback.
Okay, so how did Amon Ra do it in the last 6 games?
Because he was out. Because Hawkins.
Okay, well, let me just throw this at you, right? The last 6 games, Amon Ra finished 6, 26, 6, 6, 2, and 9.
Sounds like the devil's
Okay.
numbers.
And yeah, you're going to say no one's there, yada, yada, right? All his percentage statistics increased when that happened. His average depth of target increased. His average depth of reception increased. His touchdown percentage increased. His catch percentage increased. So it's not like they were just throwing him 100 balls and he was coming down with 50. He was catching everything thrown his way. And let me throw this little stat at you. Michael Thomas, right? One of the
Oh my
greatest
God,
players.
you are not going to compare him to
What's
Michael
happening?
Thomas. Stop it.
One of the greatest players of our generation, right? His rookie year, 119, 92, 77% catch rate. Amon Ra, 115, 90, 78 catch rate. I think it's there.
Yeah, I
I
think
think it's there. The only thing he needs to improve for me, the 2 jumps that I want to see him make this season, which I think is 100% doable from those 6 games that I saw, was his touchdown rate because he didn't have any touchdowns until those last 6 games, and then he caught one in every single game. So I mean,
Some
that's the
consistency there. You'd like to see.
consistency showing on the back
Yeah.
end when he got the work, and he made that chemistry with Jared Goff already. So I'm not worried about that. I think he's still going to get fed in the red zone all day. I'm not worried about that. I think he's going to come down with over 10 touchdowns. And then
I just think they're good. I don't. I just think it's Jameson Williams.
you can we'll get there. And then the other stat that I want to see a little increase is just his average yards per reception was a little low for me. It was around 10. Michael Thomas's that rookie season was 12, but the last 6 games he went from 10 to 11. So he's shown it. He went from all his statistical percentages went up, everything went up in those last 6 games. And you're saying, yeah, there's no one there. 100%, there's nobody there. So he was doing this double teamed. He was doing this against the number one cornerback. So he can do it. He's a number one receiver. He showed it last year with Jared Goff, with no one around him, with no one else to throw to, and his catch percentage was 80% in those games against the best players on the other teams.
Rob, honestly, I think the bigger thing, because I don't think Brian necessarily dislikes Amon-Ra, and I don't think he dislikes Jameson Williams. I think it all really circles back to Jared Goff. So, I mean, I'm going to put you a little on the
100%.
spot. This is hard.
Yeah.
No,
you're
I mean,
good,
how
buddy.
many TDs do you think Jared Goff's going to throw this year? And I won't
I don't
hold
think
you
it's going to be
this
anything
'cause
crazy. I think it's going to be high 20s. 27. I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility. In 19 with the Rams, he finished, I want to say,
No, I think high 20s. I think high 20s is okay, Rob. I
Yeah.
just don't see
his
Yeah.
highest is 32
Okay. I
with
I
the
think high 20s
Rams.
is okay.
He had 28, 32, 22.
But high 20s doesn't
And then the
support
Rams traded him after 20.
what?
I think
What
he's
doesn't it
going to
support?
be right around
two
20.
top 15
I
receivers.
don't think he's
29
Why not?
high 20 touchdowns does not. I just don't think
If
it does.
if nobody else gets the work,
But that's
who
not
else
going to
is
happen because those
Dark?
fluky touchdowns. I mean, there's.
You're right. I'm not-
Honestly, you
yeah,
need to
there's-
throw away 8 to 10 because they're going to happen throughout the year. Whether it be Hawkinson, Swift.
You can say that, but
Yeah, they're who's that dude with the curly hair? Their little receiver guy. Oh my god.
he's not. I don't think he's there anymore. That white guy, the little white dude.
I got to look up the Lions.
Anyways, so
'Cause
Goff
think
is
about this,
already.
Rick.
Let me say this before we get down that road. Goff's already done this. Okay, I know Goff isn't what
He has not
we-
supported 2 top 15 receivers, though, has he?
You're right. He's supported 2 top 12s because he had
Okay, this
in
will be good. I like
19
this.
he had
I like
Cooper
this.
Kupp with finished number 4 and Robert Woods. You're right, top 14. He finished
Okay.
4 with Cooper Kupp and 14 with Woods.
That proves me wrong. I mean, I didn't think high 20s. That was year through 32 TDs, or
Also,
I
which is
believe.
right there.
One
It's close.
major
It's close.
thing-
Which is
I'm okay with that.
a major thing we haven't touched on
doable. I'm just saying
is the addition of DJ Chark as well.
I don't
Only 25.
I don't see. Once they brought in Jameson Williams, that's DJ Shark for me is a big body downfield receiver, which
Too
I think
skinny.
Jameson. Yeah, I just think Williams is gonna get all those looks, man. I just don't see. He'll get a couple. He'll be okay, but I think I got him for like 50 catches, maybe nothing crazy. But
Real quick, something important.
for me, Williams.
That's
I
one
agree.
of my.
I might be high on Williams just with Goff because that's not Goff's strong suit is the deep ball.
I think
So
you
I
need
think-
to commit to a guy. I think that's the story.
Yeah, I think I'm a
yeah.
little bit high on him. The only thing for me is watching him in college. I think he has that what you were talking about with the Debo Samuel, with the AJ Brown, where he can get down the field 10 yards, 15 yards, see a
Find a
soft
hole.
spot, catch
Yep.
it, and then boom, he's gone. So, and I
Yeah.
don't think he needs. My reason for Williams is I don't think he needs 130 targets. I think he can do it in 105, 110, kind of do that AJ Brown role that his rookie year, right? He had 110 targets maybe and like 70 catches, but he had 10
70 for
touchdowns.
1075. That was his 1 year where it's like, okay,
You know.
touchdowns are so fluky. I don't even look at them. And yeah.
Yeah, but just for instance,
general,
say
yep,
Williams gets
yep.
110 catches or 110 targets, 80 catches, but he takes 4 of them to the house at over 80 yards. I mean, that's definitely doable with his talent.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at with those two. I think I might be a little high on Williams. I'll give you that, Brian. Amon-Ra, I am all in on him as a
I
top
forget
12.
already. Where do you have him on Raw again?
I think I'm 13 or 12 right now, but he keeps,
Okay.
for me, he's been as high
Keeps
as
moving
5.
up.
He's been as high as
Size
5.
5.
As high as 5. I brought him back down because I was like, this is nuts. But that's where my love is.
Rob, here's where you go wrong. You start talking me into this stuff, and you're like, Jared Goff did it before. I'm like, okay, all right. And then you start trying to put Amon-Ra in 5th overall, and you lose me again.
I brought him back to earth. But I want you to know that's where my love is for him. Because
Yeah.
I think the talent's there. And I know you think it's a crazy comparison, the Michael Thomas comparison. I really do. But he might not be that same receiver, but just the way they play, he's not going to get his average depth of his average reception is going to be like 12 yards.
Yeah.
But
So
it's
let me-
all about
let me
Devon.
just-
It's all about it's going to be target,
Mm-hmm.
big body receiver in the end zone, come down with 10 touchdowns. That's what I think is going to happen.
Let me
Go
wrap
ahead.
this up for us a little bit, and I just want to end with a question here. Do you think the Lions are drafting a quarterback in the next 2 years?
That's a good question.
It's close. I mean,
It depends.
Yeah.
It depends. It's hard to say. I mean, I would say yes next season just because I can't see them being great. And the quarterback talent next year is... So, who knows? Because every year we say, like, oh, the quarterback talent next year is going to be amazing. If the quarterback talent's what it should be and what everyone thinks it's going to be going into next year, there's some elite talent. So if they have a top 5 pick next year, they'd be stupid not to. You know, you can't pass. I'm not saying Jared Goff is a top 5 quarterback by any means, but is he serviceable? Did he show that in LA?
Is he good enough?
Is he good enough to support the receivers? And I believe he's shown that before in LA. Now
To
he had
support the
one.
receivers, but that's not the question, Rob. The team is trying to determine, is he good enough to win them a Super Bowl?
Oh,
And
that's
the Rams proved that Jared Goff isn't
100%.
by going and getting another QB. So when you say, is the team going to draft a quarterback, doesn't matter if he supports the receivers. You know
Correct.
what I mean?
But I'm just talking fantasy purposes. I
Yeah.
agree. Yeah, do I think they're going to draft another one? Again, if they're top 5, if they have a top 5 pick next year, probably. Because now, if you look at it, according to me, they have really good young talent. Swift, Amon-Ra, Williams, Hawk is still young. He's not bad. He's a good tight end, but I don't think he's anything to worry about for fantasy purposes.
It's good weapons. You're right, Rob.
Right?
I mean,
It's
Brian,
good weapons.
do you think
No, it is for sure.
Yeah.
And Swift being a top 5, I mean, he's going to get over 100 targets. So that's where
I feel like
that's
there's
where
a
that
lot
goes.
of teams
That's
this
why
year
I'm
that
high.
have good weapons, and you're just kind of waiting on the
The
quarterback
thing of
to
it
put
is
all together.
if you don't have, I mean, if you're not loaded up with the weapons this year, it's going to be tough to even make the playoffs, especially in the AFC, because every team seems to be loaded, and it's only getting better and
Especially
better.
the West,
Yeah.
man.
They're making super teams. It's like the NBA. It's crazy.
Yeah.
All right, guys. I think that pretty much does it. Rob, you were clearly good at the shameless plugs. You want to shameless plug those social medias for us again real quick?
Yeah, man. You can catch us on Twitter at DadBodFS. Catch us on YouTube. This will be back up on YouTube when we're off of here. We're on Twitch streaming currently and streaming on YouTube as well right now. You can get our just the audio. We're starting to pump that out. That started this weekend, so you can catch us on Spotify and all your podcast platforms. So go check us out on there if you're doing some yard work or working out or grilling. Just throw us in your ears and
Doing those
get some
dad
fantasy
things.
news.
Any of those dad activities. All right, thanks, Rob. Appreciate it. All right, I'm Cody for Brian and Rob. Appreciate y'all. Have a good one.
Later.
Adios.